the kids that you were looking up to, that you thought had everything, when you actually looked in the mirror, you said, wait a minute, I got the edge here.
Exactly. Dude, I thought, I tweeted this the other day. I said, someone took the same hand you're complaining about and won with it. Because for a moment, I thought I had the shittier hand. You're exactly right.
Welcome to the Spartan Up podcast with Joe De Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Race.
We are talking about overcoming obstacles. The same way we teach people to get over obstacles on the course, we will teach you here on the Spartan Up podcast to get over obstacles in your mind.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by 511 and FITAID. 511, the official plate carrier sponsor of the 2021 U.S. Spartan events. Find out more at 511tactical.com. Race dirty, recover clean with FITAID Sports Recovery Drink. Visit lifeaidbevco.com and enter the code Spartan30 at checkout to get exclusive early access to FITAID's Black Friday 30% off sale.
Joe De Sena here, CEO and founder of Spartan and the Spartan Up podcast. And I got the infamous John Henry in the house. This guy, are you an influencer or an entrepreneur or both? What's your story?
I'm definitely a businessman first. I'm a proud son of immigrants first, entrepreneur second, and then whatever else third.
And you started this company called Loop.
Yes. Loop is my latest project. But I've been starting companies for 10 years. I'm 28 now. I started my first business at 18. It was like a dry cleaning delivery service. We somehow did all the dry cleaning for like big movies. And so that was like my start. Then I started a little incubator in Harlem that turned into a fund. So then I got into deploying some capital. I created a TV show that we sold to Vice, and they were distributed all over the place. And I hosted some podcasts for like Gimlet Media and so on. And so really, I just built a number of experiences, and I felt like I wanted to take a swing again back on the operator side, but I wanted to tackle something that at a minimum could be $1 billion business. And I felt like, I wasn't ready when I first started, but now after 10 years of doing this, I feel like, I have a good a shot as anybody else. So
basically, shopping for car insurance is a nightmare. Warren Buffett couldn't figure it out. And you've got it figured out because using AI, what's the magic here?
Other people have focused on the shopping experience. So there are like all these quoting engines and comparative raters. We're actually a vertically integrated insurance company. So we are reinsured by the third largest reinsurer in the world. We raised $25 million over the last 9 months. And when you get insured by Loop, you are being insured directly by us. We're handling the claims, policy administration, customer service, acquisition of the customers, content creation. And you download an app and you're priced purely based on how you drive. And I think the really big innovation is a lot of people don't know this, but your credit score is something like 80% of your price today. And all the big carriers use credit score, 100% of them, because, when insurance, since it's regulated, all their pricing is public. So I personally have gone and seen. And I don't know, I think that over relying on like stuff like credit is unfair for millennials. It's unfair for immigrants, unfair for a lot of low income communities that aren't really any more dangerous on the road. So they're paying a higher rate, but in actuality, there's a pricing inefficiency there. And we're capitalizing on that pricing inefficiency with better technology. And we have a great brand at the same time.
I love it. We're going to go back in time. I want to hear more about your startup stories because I have children and I want to make sure my kids have as much hustle as you have. So I want to talk about that. But how did this come to be? Were you shopping for insurance yourself? How did it happen?
I have a history now of building mission-driven businesses. I believe that we are living in the mission economy. I think that mission unlocks doors that profit never would. And I learned that because my last company that I started was a fund called Harlem Capital. And we were investing in women and minority-owned companies. And, we were raising $25 million, which felt like a lot of money to me at the time. But in private equity and all this other stuff, it's not a lot of money at all. And yet we got in front of multiple billionaires, co-founders of KKR and the CEO of TPG and all these $100 billion plus firms. And they were making time for us. And I was always confused as to why. And that's when I learned that, at some point, purely optimizing for profits is not oftentimes the motivator on the consumer sentiment side, but also on the deployment of capital, also in finding great employees. Like, people beyond meeting their needs need something more to be to motivate them. And so, given that, my co-founder invented this incredible technology that can predict where car crashes happen. So we have an 87% accuracy rate. We can predict car crashes from a dirt road all the way up to a highway. And we figured, man, the thing, like, car insurance how can we use this technology? Well, we tried to sell it to insurance carriers, but they weren't interested in innovation because they're too large to really be nimble. So we thought, well, what if we bring this directly to consumers ourselves? And it turns out nobody gives a shit about technology for technology's sake. But there are these high pain point segments in the market that would benefit as a result of being priced purely based on how you drive.
Let's go back in time. 18 years old.
Yeah, my parents are Dominican and, raised in uptown Manhattan. New York in the 90s was kind of a crazy place, but it was great breeding grounds, man. It was the phenomenal ingredients of, like, enough adversity, enough, like, you were talking about your kids needing that hustle. I don't know how well you've done for yourself, but if you've done fairly well, then I have a hypothesis that they maybe wouldn't have that hunger instilled in them. We grew up super broke, and I always saw that as a bad hand until I went to a high school in a more affluent area because my mom was a custodian in a more affluent zip code. And one of the perks is your kids can go to school there even though you don't live in that zip code. So for the first time in high school, I was exposed to kids that had, a good amount of money. And I always felt I was insecure about, like, not having a car, not having my own room, shit like that. But, seeing how things have played out since high school, I've had a lot more drive as a result of, growing up from humble means. And, fast forward to just a couple months ago, I was able to buy my parents a house this year, which is just a cool thing to be. That was always my dream, but I always thought that would be my retirement thing. Now I did it, at this age, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what's next? But I love how, like, I think people make business to be, like, they overprescribe the importance of numbers in business. Dollars are but the currency to make impact and moves. But in actuality, I found that entrepreneurship is a very creative endeavor. I found it will put you through every emotion. You have to be creative with the products that you make and how you deliver the service and how you can motivate your team. And yeah, I'm just really glad to be alive at this time. And especially with all this innovation that's happening right now with Web3 in the last 6 months, like, I feel like it's a completely new landscape all over again, and it's ripe for opportunity.
I love it. I love everything you're saying. You ever see Rocky 1 by chance? First Rocky movie, Rocky Balboa?
Yeah, it's been a while though. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't know you youngsters, but Rocky, he was hungry, like you're describing. He was hungry in that first movie, and after he made some money, and after he got that big title fight, he kind of, he got sloppy, became complacent, and I think that's what you were describing from the kids that you were looking up to, that you thought had everything. When you actually looked in the mirror, you said, "Wait a minute, I got the edge here."
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I thought, so I tweeted this the other day. I said, someone took the same hand you're complaining about and won with it. Because for a moment, I thought I had the shittier hand. You're exactly right. I was like, fuck, like I can't ask my parents for a loan or or whatever. And I'll tell like a story that personifies this. Like, I was always embarrassed of not having my own room coming up because, like, you can't have friends over, you can't have a little girlfriend and stuff like that when you're young. And, I went to high school in Florida, and that was always my thing that I was embarrassed about. Well, when I finished high school, I wanted to move back to the city where I was from to go be a self-made man, New York City. So I moved to New York City. It was me, my brother, and my father. And in that first day, I remember my dad just like figured out 1 month of rent for an apartment back in Washington Heights where I'm born. And we slept in the first night in this apartment. It was completely empty. And we split that first night an air mattress between the three of us. And it was this beautiful irony because here I was embarrassed at never having my own room and ashamed about it. And then fast forward 4 years later, I'm splitting an air mattress and I never felt fucking prouder about it. I was like, I fucking love the opportunity to completely build it up from scratch, from splitting an air mattress. And that was the perspective with which I saw it. And in that moment, I reevaluated my hand. I looked at the same hand a little bit differently. And, fast forward, like I said, to go from like splitting an air mattress to being able to buy my parents a house is not shabby. And I've realized that, it's more along the person I've become along the way. I think I can lose the little bit that I have and make it back 10 times over, because at this point, I just have this infectious optimism and resourcefulness and, ability to just communicate and just like the grit to get it done. And
it's hard to compete against a guy like you because you're fighting for milk. You've got a fantastic attitude. And, my kids, my two boys, I got a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they went to Europe this summer. I sent them with a green beret, and I said, you guys got 2 weeks. I torture my kids pretty hard. Not as hard as what you're describing. They'll never have the edge you have for all the reasons you said. But I try to manufacture the adversity. But anyway, I gave them 2 weeks off, sent them to Europe, and they learned a lot about Napoleon and kings and queens in Europe. And my young son came back and said, Dad, you know what the problem with the kings and queens were back then? I said, what? He said, if they came up through the ranks, they were good kings and queens because they understood what it was like to be, a citizen down with everybody else. But their children turned out to be awful.
I'm perfectly conscious that, my kids will grow up with a very different, I don't have any kids, but if I'm fortunate to have kids, they will grow up in completely different circumstances. And it terrifies me. I want, like, the goal is always to give your kids a good life, but I'm curious as to, what that will breed in terms of, drive. But I suppose as long as they have good values, and that's all we can ask for, broke or rich. But yeah, man, that's been the journey, and I love it. And I'm finding great joy and fulfillment in being a player at this time right now. And I think that there's so much innovation happening. Someone asked me last night, like, hey, what would you tell, what are the tips that you would give an entrepreneur? And it's like, man, the reality is everything's fucking changing every 6 to 18 months right now. It's a new platform that you got to stay on top of. I mean, you're doing this podcast. You probably would rather not be doing this shit, but you got to, otherwise the vulnerability for your discoverability. So you pivoted and figured out his podcast, and, now community building is moving to Discord. And, 6 to 18 months ago, or 18 months ago, I would have said, hey, you got to be on Instagram. And now it's TikTok. And now, there's new currencies emerging, and, there's NFTs and there's new technologies. And in a way, it's kind of a pain in the ass because, right when I get a little bit of critical mass on Instagram, it's becoming less relevant. I'm like, damn it, now I got to go, and it kind of keeps you on your toes. But in that sense, it's actually also very encouraging, because if you ever miss a wave, you can be on the lookout for the next wave, be early, and by the time the zeitgeist catches up, you have an upside. And I find that to be the great equalizer in entrepreneurship. You can, if you miss Instagram, good luck trying to get the scale now. It's fucking hard. But you can, get the scale pretty quickly right now on TikTok, and even just moving away from media, even just in industries, as an investor, I'm very sensitive to the different valuation multiples of different businesses. If you're in media, it's but a 3X. AI is a 25X. And they all go through their Weston cranes in terms of deployment, finding, different homes. So all that to say, man, that it's just an incredibly ripe world of opportunity right now, for artists, for creators, for business people, you name it, man. I'm super bullish.
I'm so jealous. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I actually am taking a stand against everything you say, right? Because I'm a Flintstone. I'm asking people to carry rocks, crawl under barbed wire, and do really, analog things. And I'm the anti-tech guy. But I have to use technology, to your point, and we got to We got to be on all the platforms so that people can discover us. Secondly, we talked about this idea that, you're saying, oh my God, this is the greatest time ever to live because stuff's changing so quick. I was on Instagram, now TikTok, I got to go to Discord. I just had somebody, on our podcast that talked about the long game. Like, how do you play the long game and at the same time hop from one escalator to another?
Spartans, you've seen Joe and his friends training in these vests on the mountains behind his farm. 511 is a global innovator in tactical apparel and footwear and purpose-built gear. That's why they're the official plate carrier sponsor of the 2021 Spartan Honor Series and the Stadium events. Not only that, 511 hosts Spartan workout tour events at select 511 retail stores 30 to 90 days before races hit. This 90-minute bodyweight training session caters to all levels of fitness. So please, anyone can come join. Come for the camaraderie, come for the fitness, but also exclusive giveaways, prizes, and special 511 promotions. You can enter to win 511's TAC Tech plate carrier at selected Spartan Honor Series and Stadium events and workout tour events. Take part in their newest Physical Training Ready Challenge. Put yourself up against other Spartan racers and earn the exclusive 511 Spartan dog tags. It's a lot to keep track of, but it's all great stuff for you. To learn more about 511 and to find a 511 retail store near you, visit 511tactical.com. FITAID is a clean sports recovery drink. You heard that right. Clean sports recovery drink. It's 45 calories, certified non-GMO tested, vegan, paleo-friendly, certified gluten-free, kosher, and never contains artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, or sodium. Even the zero sugar option that's keto-friendly and 5 calories is naturally sweetened with monk fruit and stevia. The FITAID Recovery Blend has glutamine, glucosamine, turmeric, BCAAs, omega-3s, CoQ10, the full B complex, and electrolytes. It's what you need after the gym, hiking, biking, or your race. They are an official partner of the Spartan Race Series. You know that because you've gotten the drink at the finish line. Now you can get it at home. Visit lifeaidbevco.com and enter the code Spartan30 at checkout to get exclusive early access to FITAID's Black Friday 30% off sale. That's lifeaidbevco.com and the code Spartan30.
Like, how do you play the long game and at the same time hop from one escalator to another?
I don't think that it's a great question. I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think that the fundamentals play out over the long term, but they rise and flow, they ebb and flow in micro cadences. So like, for example, switching from IG to TikTok to Discord, it's all underpinned in the same thing, which is, being omnipresent. Like if you think you want to play the long game, let's talk about like the ultimate, evangelist, Jesus Christ, whether you're religious or not. Like before any social tools, homie was out there pounding pavement and getting the message out. And that to me is exactly what social media allows us to do, but with modern tools. So I'm not romantic at all about the platforms. I just want to get the message out. I got to get the message. I got to tell someone about Spartan Up. I got to tell them about like why they got to do it, how they got to do it, like why it's awesome, the community. And to me, I don't care at all about the tools. I care more about delivering the message. So I do believe that you can have these fundamental beliefs that play out over 4 decades. But the reality of an entrepreneur is people consume you in the current context. And so therefore, you have to pay attention to these little 18-month cadences without losing sight of the long term.
I mean, it's so awesome on the one hand that you describe, but on the other hand, God, I just want people to go out and hike in the woods carrying a rock.
I hear you. But that's why that duality is why your business exists and will continue to do well, because it's the yin to the yang. You're providing the offline experience that you simply can't replicate on the fucking metaverse.
All right, John, we're talking, you're a successful guy. I don't know if you're really lucky or just hardworking or both or what, but you seem to have the magic touch. Is it resilience? Is it grit, grind, the fact that you grew up in a tougher situation than most? Or is it intelligence? Like, what is it?
I believe I'm fairly modest IQ. I have had for example, my co-founder at Loop is a particularly cerebral person. She's a very high IQ, type of person. And, I've worked with a number of those types of people, and that's just not me. And so I ruled out early. I think I'm like sufficiently intelligent, but not like hyper intelligent. So I really think that people place probably too much value on IQ. I really believe that it's attitude that matters so much, and the ability to teach yourself things. I dropped out of school my first semester. I only did one semester of college, and I have been continually teaching myself shit over and over. And I think people open doors when you have a great attitude. I've seen that continually over and over. And I've had mentors that had no business spending their time with a 19-year-old kid at the time, who was running a dry cleaner. And, I remember when I sat down my mentor and I was trying to pitch him, I said, hey, if you get your neighbor to sell me his clothes and 5%, I'll give you a royalty. He's like, oh my God, this kid's a disaster. And he's like, look, man, let me teach you about brand. Let me teach you about strategy. And I just soaked it up and I followed up and I delivered. And so, of course, it's a mixture of those traits like, persistence, grind, whatever. But I do think that you can have those traits and be an asshole and it won't work. I really think that you have to be rooted in a great attitude. And that's not to say that you got to be cheery. Sometimes I'm and I'm okay with that. But, my team knows that when I'm a dick, it's because I'm looking to get the best out of them or out of a certain project. I don't think it's, all that to say, there's probably a whole other separate conversation, but all that to say that I think that the attitude of infectious optimism, that is the trait that I think has got me here, over any kind of intelligence.
Well, I love it. I mean, I could talk to you honestly for like 16 weeks straight. You're awesome. I'm impressed. I really am impressed. I can only hope my kids turn out, to 25% of what you are. You're awesome.
Thank you, man.
How do people find you?
I'm all over, and I'm very active. I'm on LinkedIn heavy. I'm on Twitter heavy. I'm on Instagram heavy. I'm on Discord heavy. I'm on TikTok. I'm starting to get my little dances in. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I'm on TikTok more. So everyone come find me at John Henry Style. And I promise you, I'm not trying to sell you car insurance. I'm just producing a ton of great content, building community, and hope to stay in touch with you guys over years.
You're awesome.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Spartan Up and taking the time to make yourself better and stronger. Joe De Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan, is back every Tuesday with new interviews. If you want more training and resilience, check out Joe's new book, 10 Rules for Resilience, Mental Toughness for Families, at spartan.com/10 rules. And find the key takeaways from some of our favorite interviews from the past at spartan.com/toughbible. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by 511 and FITAID. 511, the official plate carrier sponsor of the 2021 U.S. Spartan events. Find out more at 511tactical.com. Race dirty, recover clean with FITAID Sports Recovery Drink. Visit lifeaidbevco.com and enter the code Spartan30 at checkout to get exclusive early access to FITAID's Black Friday 30% off sale.